A night settles over Egypt. The desert exhales. The Nile whispers against papyrus reeds. And we gather here, in this sacred hour, to remember the queens, the silent ones, the women who walked these temple floors, who breathed the same night air, who felt the cool stone beneath their feet. Torchlight flickers, shadows dance across carved walls, and in this gentle darkness, we begin. There are lives that history remembers, and lives that history forgets. But here, in the quiet places, in the spaces between columns, in the darkness of inner sanctuaries, these lives remain, waiting, breathing, eternal. The queens of Egypt walked in silence, not because they had no voice, but because their voices spoke in other ways, through ritual, through presence, through the sacred duties only they could perform. Their feet touched these same stones, cool beneath bare soles, smooth from centuries of walking, of ceremony, of devotion. The Nile flows, patient, eternal, as it has always flowed, and the queens walked beside it, in procession, in prayer, in contemplation, before the sun rises over the eastern cliffs, before priests light the temple braziers, before the city stirs, a queen awakens, in chambers draped with linen, where lamplight glows soft and golden, where incense drifts through latticed windows. She opens her eyes to darkness, to the last moments of night, to silence. Her attendants wait, patient, still. They move like shadows, bringing water, bringing oils, bringing the ceremonial garments she will wear. The linen is cool against her skin, white, pure, woven by temple hands, by women who sang prayers into every thread. Every fold holds intention. Every drape carries meaning. She is not dressing. She is becoming the vessel, the bridge between mortals and gods. Outside her window, the Nile breathes, water touching reeds, reeds bending, releasing, bending again. The sound is so soft, almost silent, but it fills the darkness, fills the spaces between heartbeats. This is the sound she has known since childhood, the river's breath, Egypt's breath, the same sound that greeted her mother, and her mother's mother, and all the queens before, stretching back through time, back to the first woman who stood beside this water and felt its eternal rhythm. The sky begins to shift, not yet light, but no longer completely dark. That moment between night and day, between sleeping and waking, between one world and another. This is when queens move through temples, when their work begins. In the threshold time, her feet touch the floor. Cool stone, ancient, worn, smooth by countless footsteps, each step a prayer, each movement deliberate, slow. She does not rush. There is no rushing in sacred space. Time moves differently here. Time stretches, expands. One step, then another. Down corridors lined with columns, past walls carved with prayers, past doorways leading to deeper darkness, to inner rooms, to places where only certain feet may walk. Her attendants follow, 3 steps behind, silent, their own feet bare, their own robes whispering. They carry what she will need, offerings, incense, sacred implements. But mostly, they carry presence, witness. They remember her movements so that others may learn, so that the rituals continue, unbroken, eternal. Other sounds begin, distant, soft, priests in far chambers, beginning their own preparations, water being poured, braziers being lit, the temple waking, slowly, gently, like a great creature stirring from sleep. But here, in this corridor, in this moment, there is only her footsteps, only the whisper of linen, only breath and heartbeat, and the cool stone beneath her feet. She approaches the first shrine, a small room, intimate, dedicated to Hathor, goddess of joy, of love, of the sacred feminine. The doorway is narrow, the ceiling low. She must bend slightly, a gesture of humility, of reverence. Inside, a lamp burns, its light barely enough to see, just enough to reveal the face of the goddess, carved in stone, patient, eternal, waiting. The queen kneels, slowly, stone cool against her knees. She breathes, one breath, two, three, centering herself, finding stillness. Her hands rest on her thighs, palms upward, open, receiving. An attendant approaches, places a small bowl in her hands. Milk, still warm from morning milking, white, pure. The queen lifts it, raises it toward the goddess. Her voice, when it comes, is barely a whisper. For you, great Hathor. For you, mother of mothers. For you, lady of joy. The words are ancient, older than she is, older than her grandmother. Words spoken by queens for generations, for centuries, for millennia. She pours the milk into a stone basin before the statue. The liquid catches lamplight, glows, settles, still. The offering is complete, but she remains, kneeling, present. This is not transaction, this is communion, this is relationship between human and divine, between earth and heaven, between now and forever. Time passes. How much? It is difficult to say. In temples, time is not measured, not counted. It simply is. The queen remains still, eyes closed now, breathing. In the silence, she feels the goddess, not as voice, not as vision, but as presence, as weight, as gravity, as the very air inside this small shrine. This is what priests teach, that the gods are not distant, not separate, but woven into everything, into stone, into water, into breath itself. And queens must feel this, must know this, must carry this knowing in their bodies. Her attendants wait outside. They do not enter the space. This is her communion, her solitude, her sacred duty. They understand. They have watched queens all their lives, watched their mothers serve queens, watched their grandmothers. This knowledge passes, silently, through observation, through patient waiting, through presence. Eventually, the queen rises, slowly, one knee lifting, then the other, her hands pressing against stone, supporting, steadying. She stands, breathes, bows once more to the goddess. A small bow, a nod of acknowledgement, of gratitude, of completion. Then she turns, moves toward the doorway, back into the corridor, where her attendants wait, where lamplight flickers, where the next shrine awaits. The ritual continues. One shrine, then another, then another. Each goddess honored, each god acknowledged. Isis, Mut, Nephthys, Sekhmet. Each requires different offerings, different prayers, different gestures, but the same presence, the same devotion, the same patient, silent service. The corridors between shrines are long, lined with columns, each column carved with prayers, with images of gods, with sacred texts. But in this early light, these carvings are shadows, suggestions, mysteries. The queen walks, her feet knowing the way. She has walked this path since childhood, first following her mother, learning by watching, by mimicking, by absorbing, then walking alone, performing the duties herself, becoming what her mother was, what all queens must be. An attendant adjusts the queen's robe. A fold has shifted. The gesture is tender, practiced. These women have known each other for years, have moved through these rituals together, have shared this silence. They speak little. Words are unnecessary. They understand through gesture, through glance, through the subtle language of long companionship. This shrine is different, larger. The goddess here is Isis, great mother, queen of heaven, protector of children, lady of magic. The queen enters. This time she does not kneel immediately. First, she circles the shrine 3 times, slowly, her hand trailing along the wall, feeling the carved hieroglyphs, the stone cool beneath her fingertips. This circling is part of the ritual, creating sacred space, marking boundary between the everyday world and this moment, this communion, this prayer. When the circling completes, she kneels before the statue of Isis, larger than Hathor's image, more elaborate, wings spread, arms extended, face serene, eternal. An attendant brings bread, fresh baked, still warm. The smell fills the shrine, rich, comforting, human. The queen takes the bread, holds it in both hands, raises it. For you, great Isis. For you, mother of Horus. For you, throne of Egypt. She breaks the bread. The sound, soft, intimate, places half in the offering bowl. The other half she holds and whispers another prayer. This one not from ancient texts, but from her heart. Her own words, her own needs, her own hopes, for her children, for her husband, for Egypt, for the people who depend on her prayers, on her intercession, on her silent service. The bread rests in the offering bowl. The queen remains kneeling, head bowed. The goddess is present. She can feel it, like warmth, like gentle weight, like mother's hands, resting on her shoulders, supporting, blessing, strengthening. In this moment, the queen remembers her own mother, performing this same ritual, in this same shrine, years ago, when she was a child, standing in the doorway, watching, learning, her mother's back straight, her mother's voice soft, her mother's hands steady. Even then, the child understood. This was important. This mattered. Though she could not have said why, could not have explained, she simply knew in her body, in her bones, that this was sacred, that this would someday be hers, this duty, this honor, this burden, this gift. Her mother had turned, seen her watching, and smiled. A small smile, gentle, knowing, then gestured for her to enter, to kneel beside her, to place her small hands over her mother's larger ones, over the offering bowl, learning, absorbing, becoming. Now, years later, the queen is the mother. Her own daughters watch, learning as she learned, absorbing as she absorbed. The line continues, unbroken, mother to daughter, queen to princess, generation to generation, back through time, forward into future. The rituals remain, the prayers continue, the goddesses wait, patient eternal, always receiving, always blessing, always present. This weight of lineage, of tradition, of sacred duty. It is not heavy, not burden. It is anchor. It is root. It is the deep knowing that she is part of something larger, something that began before her and will continue after. She is link in a chain, note in a song, wave in an ocean, individual yet connected, separate yet part of the whole. The prayer completes, the offering given, the communion fulfilled. The queen rises, joints stiff from kneeling, but the stiffness is good. It reminds her of her body, of her humanity, of the physical world. Even as she communes with divine, she remains human, remains mortal, remains flesh and blood and bone. This balance is important, this knowing that she is bridge between earth and heaven, between human and God, neither fully one nor fully the other, but something between, something essential. She bows to Isis, deep bow, reverent, grateful, then turns, moves toward the doorway. Her attendants fall into step, behind her, beside her, supporting her journey to the next shrine and the next. This corridor is longer. The columns here are massive, rising into shadow, their tops lost in darkness, even as dawn light begins, filtering through high windows, thin beams, golden, cutting through incense smoke, creating patterns, ephemeral, beautiful, gone in moments. The queen pauses, watches the light. This too is prayer, this witnessing, this attention, this presence, not rushing, not hurrying, simply being here, in this moment, in this light, in this ancient corridor, where countless queens have walked, have paused, have witnessed, have been present. An attendant lights fresh incense. The smoke rises, lazy, drifting, cedar, myrrh, frankincense, scents from far lands, brought by traders, carried across deserts, across seas, to Egypt, to temples, to this moment. Incense is prayer made visible. This is what priests teach. The smoke rising, carrying intention, carrying devotion, carrying hope, up toward the gods, up toward heaven. The queen breathes deeply, draws the scent into her lungs, holds it, releases. This too is communion, this sharing of breath, of air, of the invisible made momentarily visible, then disappearing again into mystery. She continues walking, the smoke follows, drifts with her, accompanies her journey, from shrine to shrine, from goddess to goddess. The day is brightening. She can hear it now, beyond the temple walls, the city waking, vendors calling, children laughing, animals stirring. The everyday world continuing, always continuing, while here, inside, time moves differently. Sacred time, eternal time, circular time. This shrine honors Sekhmet, fierce goddess, lion-headed, protector, destroyer, healer, she who is powerful, she who is mighty, she who must be honored. Carefully, respectfully, the queen approaches, more slowly than before. Sekhmet requires different energy, different attention, not soft like Hathor, not maternal like Isis, but fierce, strong, demanding. The statue here is different, carved from darker stone, black granite, the lion's face severe, unsmiling, eternal. The queen kneels, but differently, with more formality, more structure, her spine straight, her hands folded, her gaze direct, meeting the goddess's stone eyes. No fear, but respect, deep respect, for power, for strength, for the wild divine that cannot be tamed, only honored. An attendant brings the offering, beer, red like blood. This is Sekhmet's drink, her favorite, her due. The queen takes the vessel, heavy pottery, cool in her hands. For you, great Sekhmet, for you, protector of pharaohs, for you, lady of the West. She pours slowly, the liquid, dark, catching lamplight, reflecting the goddess's fierce gaze. The prayer continues, different from the others, more formal, more structured, ancient words, powerful words, words that must be spoken correctly, precisely, or not at all. The queen's voice remains soft, but there is strength in it, steel beneath silk. She is not supplicating, she is honoring, one power acknowledging another, queen to goddess, woman to divine feminine, mortal to immortal, but both powerful, both necessary, both essential, to the balance, to the order, to ma'at. Ma'at. The word itself is prayer, truth, justice, balance, order, the foundation of everything. Without ma'at, chaos. Without ma'at, destruction. Without ma'at, the world itself unravels. And queens are guardians of ma'at. Through their rituals, through their prayers, through their silent service, they maintain balance, they hold space, they ensure that order continues, that truth persists, that justice prevails, that Egypt endures. This is why the rituals matter, why precision matters, why showing up matters. Day after day, year after year, generation after generation, the work is repetitive. Yes, the work is subtle. Yes, but the work is essential, absolutely essential, to everything. The beer poured, the prayer spoken, the queen remains, holding Sekhmet's gaze, stone to flesh, immortal to mortal, goddess to queen. There is understanding here, recognition. Sekhmet protects, but queens must be strong enough to receive that protection, to hold that power, to channel that fierce energy into righteous action, into just rule, into necessary strength. When strength is required, finally, the queen bows, not as deeply as to Isis, but with equal respect, different respect, for different aspect of divine feminine. She rises, steady, strong, centered. The encounter with Sekhmet always leaves her more grounded, more present, more powerful in herself, in her role, in her purpose. The corridor again, movement, walking, breathing, between one shrine and another, between one prayer and the next. These spaces are important, not empty, but full, full of integration, full of absorption, full of becoming. The queen walks slowly, feeling her feet, feeling the stone, feeling her body, solid, real, human. After each shrine, after each communion, she must return to herself, to her form, to her flesh. Before approaching the next, an attendant offers water, simple clay cup, cool water from temple wells. The queen drinks, slowly, tasting, feeling the water, moving down her throat, into her belly, grounding her, reminding her, body, need, thirst, satisfaction, human things, good things, necessary things. Outside, the sun has fully risen, light floods the city. The market is busy now, full of voices, full of commerce, full of ordinary life. But here, inside temple walls, the light is filtered, softened, transformed by high windows, by carved screens, by the architecture itself, designed to create not ordinary light, but sacred light, not ordinary space, but sacred space, not ordinary time, but sacred time. The Queen has been walking, praying, offering for hours now, but she does not tire. Or rather, the fatigue is part of the prayer, the body's offering, the flesh's devotion, to give time, to give energy, to give presence. This is the work. This is the duty. This is the privilege. This shrine is smaller, more intimate. Nephthys, lady of the house, friend of the dead, protector of mothers, sister to Isis, often overshadowed, but essential, always essential. The Queen has special affection for this goddess, for the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one who serves, without seeking glory, without demanding attention, simply present, simply doing. What needs doing? The statue here is simpler, less elaborate, but no less beautiful, carved with care, with love, with understanding, of subtle power, of quiet strength. The Queen kneels, and here, finally, she relaxes slightly, not in disrespect, but in comfort, in recognition, in kinship. The offering here is simple: bread, salt, water, basic things, humble things, necessary things. The Queen arranges them with her own hands, no attendant helping. This is her offering, her work, her gift. For you, dear Nephthys, for you, quiet guardian, for you, friend. The prayer is softer here, more personal, less formal, words from heart, not from ritual text. She speaks of her day, her duties, her hopes, her fears, her gratitude, for the privilege of service, for the honor of purpose, for the gift of meaningful work. Nephthys listens, silent, patient, understanding. The goddesses who do not demand are sometimes the ones who give most, who hold most, who bless most, quietly, without fanfare, without recognition, but constantly, eternally, faithfully. Time stops here, or seems to. The Queen simply sits, no longer kneeling, but sitting, cross-legged, comfortable, present. Her attendants have moved further away, giving her privacy, giving her space. This is her time, her moment, her breath. The temple around her continues. Priests in far rooms, other rituals proceeding, but here, in this small shrine, there is only stillness, only breath, only presence, only now. She thinks of her children, her daughters learning, her sons growing. She thinks of her husband, the pharaoh, with his public duties, his visible power, while she holds this invisible power, this quiet strength, this sustaining force, both necessary, both essential, both sacred, in different ways. People think silence is absence, but queens know. Silence is presence, the deepest presence, the most profound presence. In silence, the gods speak, not in words, but in knowing, in feeling, in sudden understanding that arrives whole, complete, undeniable. This is why queens must be silent, must cultivate silence, must protect silence in themselves, in their spaces, in their practices, so they can hear what can only be heard in silence. The goddess offers no words, no visions, no dramatic revelations, only peace, only presence, only the deep knowing that all is well, that all is as it should be, that the work continues, the balance holds, Ma'at prevails, Egypt endures. Eventually, the queen must rise, must continue. More shrines await, more prayers, more offerings. The work is never finished, not completely. It simply pauses, then resumes. Day after day, season after season, year after year, she stands, steadies herself, bows to Nephthys, deep bow, grateful bow, loving bow, then turns. Back to the corridor, back to the procession, back to the public devotion. After this moment of private communion, her attendants return, resume their positions. They see her face, the peace there, the settling. They understand. Nephthys has blessed her, has restored her, has given her what she needed to continue, to persist, to serve. The procession moves through doorways, down corridors, until suddenly, opening into light, the central courtyard, open to sky, the sun now high, bright, warm on skin. The queen pauses, lets the sunlight touch her face, her arms, absorbing warmth, absorbing light after the cool darkness of inner shrines. This warmth is blessing, is gift, is Ra himself, touching her, acknowledging her, blessing her work. The courtyard is paved, white limestone, brilliant in sunlight, almost blinding. Her eyes adjust slowly, from temple darkness to courtyard brightness. The transition, like being born, like emerging into a different world, though still sacred, still temple, still consecrated ground. At the courtyard center, a pool, fed by channels, connected to the Nile, water flowing, always fresh, always pure. The queen approaches. Her attendants know this ritual, this cleansing. They remove her outer robe, leaving only inner linen, light, thin, nearly transparent. In the bright sun, she descends stone steps into the water, cool, clean, sacred. The water rises to her knees, to her thighs, to her waist. She stands, lets the current move around her, cleansing, purifying, preparing her for the afternoon rituals, for the next phase of sacred work. This is not bathing, this is renewal, rebirth, becoming clean, not just physically, but spiritually, energetically, ready again, open again, clear again. She tilts her head back, looks up at the sky, blue, endless. A hawk circles, high above, lazy spirals, riding thermals. Horus, watching, always watching. The hawk's shadow passes, briefly, across her face, across the water, gone, then there again, circling, eternal. She closes her eyes, feels sun on her eyelids, warm, red through closed eyes, feels water around her body, cool, moving, feels air on her face, dry, clean, all elements present, earth beneath her feet, water surrounding her, air filling her lungs, fire warming her skin, complete, whole, balanced. She opens her eyes, begins moving toward the steps, water streaming from her garments, from her skin, from her hair, droplets catching sunlight, becoming diamonds, becoming light. For a moment, before falling, returning to the pool, to the source, everything returns, eventually, to source. Attendants wait, with dry linen. They wrap her, gently, carefully, absorbing water, absorbing excess, leaving only slight dampness, only coolness against her skin, refreshing, renewing. She stands still, lets them work. These women who have served her for years, who know her body, perhaps better than she knows it herself. The sun has reached its height, beginning now to descend toward the western cliffs, toward the realm of the dead, toward sunset, still hours away. But the trajectory has shifted. Morning has passed, afternoon begins, and with afternoon, different rituals, different duties, different aspects of a queen's work. She is led to a different part of the temple, where the teaching rooms are, where young priestesses learn, where knowledge passes from generation to generation. The queen's role here is not to teach directly, but to be present, to embody, to demonstrate through her very being what it means to serve the gods, to hold sacred space, to be vessel for divine work. The room is cool, shaded, pillars hold up a painted ceiling, stars, constellations. The body of Nut, sky goddess, arched overhead, swallowing the sun, birthing it again. Eternal cycle. Young women sit cross-legged on reed mats. They are quiet, attentive, waiting. When the queen enters, they do not rise. This has been instructed. In sacred space, rising and falling is minimized. Stillness honored. She takes her place on a low stool, simple wood, no cushion. Comfort is not the point. Presence is the point. An older priestess begins, teaching about herbs, about healing, about the plants that grow along the Nile, in the desert, in temple gardens. Each plant has properties, uses, sacred associations. The young women listen, take notes, on papyrus, with reed pens. The queen says nothing. She is simply there. But her presence teaches, her posture teaches, the way she holds herself, upright but not rigid, relaxed but attentive, present but not imposing. The young women glance at her, learning without being taught, absorbing without being told. This is how women learn, often through observation, through mimicry, through osmosis, not just words, but being, not just knowledge, but embodiment. The priestess holds up a plant, dried leaves. Lotus, she says, sacred to all gods. Opens with sun, closes with moon, symbol of rebirth, of emergence, of transformation. She passes it. The young women touch it gently, feel the texture. The queen watches, remembers, being their age, sitting in this room, or one like it, learning these same lessons, touching these same plants, feeling the same wonder, the same reverence, the same sense of entering into ancient knowledge, into timeless wisdom. There is comfort in this continuity, in knowing that what she learned is what they learn, that what she was taught is what they are taught, that the knowledge flows, unbroken, unchanged, eternal. This is not stagnation, this is preservation of what works, of what is true, of what has sustained Egypt for thousands of years. Why change? What works? Why alter? What is perfect? The gods gave these teachings